the mannequin in the basement. There's something deeply unsettling about being the last person in a place that's usually full of people. The silence doesn't feel peaceful, it feels uneasy, especially when that silence is broken by the sound of breathing, and you know for a fact it isn't yours. Back in 2018, I worked at a small family-run clothing store in a mall in New Jersey. It had two levels, the main floor for customers and a basement for stock. I was a stock associate, so most of my shift was spent down there, organizing deliveries, hanging up coats, tagging items, that kind of thing. It wasn't glamorous, but it was quiet. Most nights it was just me, some racks of clothing, and a bunch of beat-up mannequins shoved against the back wall. They were the old ones, some missing limbs or heads. No one used them anymore, but no one got rid of them either. I always hated walking past them. Something about their blank, frozen poses just didn't feel right. One night in December, the other closer called out sick, so I was stuck finishing the shift alone. It was a Thursday. The mall closed at 9, and by 9:30 the place was completely dead. I went downstairs to unpack a late shipment of winter coats. The basement had no windows, just rows of flickering fluorescent lights that hummed constantly. I had a little Bluetooth speaker I'd bring down there to play music, just to make the silence less crushing. That night I remember turning around mid-shift and stopping cold. One of the mannequins, the one missing its head, was no longer facing the wall like usual. It was turned, facing me. I just stood there staring at it. I told myself maybe I bumped into it when I brought the boxes in. Maybe it spun a little. Maybe. But that thing was heavy and wedged behind other clutter. It didn't seem possible, but I tried to shake it off. About 10 minutes later, I was working on the far side of the basement, hanging coats on the rack. That's when I noticed another mannequin, this one completely intact, was now in the center aisle with the head of another mannequin in its hands, like it had been dragged from the wall. There were even faint marks on the dusty old floor leading to where it now stood. The air suddenly felt heavier. I had that weird feeling you get when someone's standing behind you, but I was alone, or I thought I was. I went over to the little security monitor near the desk, one of those old ones that only shows a grainy black and white feed. There was nothing, no movement, no one on the stairs, no sign of anything. Still, I was done pretending this was normal. I told myself I'd finish the last few boxes quickly, go upstairs, lock up, and be done with it. Then I heard it. Breathing, heavy, deliberate, steady breathing. Not from above, not from my speaker. It was coming from just a few feet away from behind a tall metal shelf, directly to my left. I didn't move. I didn't even breathe. I just stood there, heart pounding so hard I thought I was going to pass out. The breathing stopped suddenly, and then, thwump, a coat fell off the rack behind me. That was it. I dropped everything, ran up the stairs, locked the basement door behind me, and didn't look back. I called the manager and told her I wasn't feeling well, locked up and left early. The next morning I called in sick. Then I called in sick the next day, and the next, and then I just never went back. A week later, while grabbing coffee with a former coworker, I told him everything. He went quiet, and then he said something I still think about almost every night. He told me years ago security caught a man sneaking into the basement through a broken service hatch in the back hallway. The guy would hide in the shadows and steal stuff after hours. He was arrested, but tried to escape during transport. Deadly force was used. That day forward, weird things was always happening in the basement. The cameras never pick up anything down there, and anyone who worked down there always end up quitting after a few days. I do know one thing. I wasn't alone down there. and whatever was breathing just a few feet away wasn't supposed to be there. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for spine-chilling horror content and to watch more scary videos. Please share with family and friends. The creepiest night at the office. You ever experience something that at first just feels weird, but the more you think about it, the more it starts to disturb you? Something that makes you question whether you were ever truly alone? A few years ago, I was working late at a small law firm in Illinois. It wasn't unusual. Paperwork, case prep, emails. But this night felt off, almost like the silence itself was listening. It was around 11 p.m. Everyone else had gone home hours ago, and I was the only one left on the 6th floor. Our building had one of those motion sensor lighting systems. If no one moves, the lights shut off room by room, like a slow fade into darkness. I was buried in a mountain of documents, trying to meet a deadline, when I got up to grab a coffee from the break room. As I stepped into the hallway, I saw the lights at the far end flicker on, like someone had just walked past. I paused. There weren't supposed to be any maintenance crews that late. Still, I figured maybe security was doing rounds or something. I called out, "Hello?" No response. I waited a few seconds and nothing. Just the soft hum of the air conditioner and the occasional creak of the floor settling. I shrugged it off and went back to my desk. Tried to focus. 10 minutes later, the lights outside my office, just outside my door, turned off. Then they turned back on, slowly, one at a time, like someone was walking. I stood up fast and peeked out. Empty hallway. No footsteps. No doors opening or closing. Just silence. I tried to laugh it off. Told myself maybe it was an electrical surge. Maybe the sensors were acting up. I sat back down. But then my office phone rang. We didn't even have caller ID on internal calls, but this one was different. Something about it made my stomach drop. I picked up. I said, "Hello?" Then I heard my name whispered. "Jason." I froze. It wasn't a voice I recognized, not a coworker, not a friend. It sounded wrong, like someone who shouldn't know me at all was just a few feet down the hall. I slammed the receiver down, grabbed my bag. I didn't care about the rest of the files. I was done. I bolted for the elevator. As I moved down the hallway, the lights behind me started turning on, one by one, like I was being followed, not by footsteps, not by breathing, just the darkness creeping in after me. I didn't look back. I didn't want to. When I hit the elevator button, it felt like forever. I kept glancing over my shoulder. No one there. But that didn't mean I was alone. The doors opened. I stepped inside, pressed the ground floor, and just stared straight ahead. As the elevator started to move, I caught something in the reflection of the brushed metal doors. A movement. Behind me, like someone ducking out of sight. I spun around. Empty. But my heart was pounding so hard I could barely breathe. The next morning I came in late, still shaken. I went straight to the managing partner's office. Told her everything. The lights, the phone call, the voice. She didn't even flinch. Didn't look surprised. She just said, "Oh, that used to happen to our last paralegal too." No explanation, no concern, just like it was normal. I looked up that paralegal's name later that day. She quit without notice a few months before I started. I never stayed late after that. And if I absolutely had to, I made damn sure all the lights stayed on. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for spine-chilling horror content and to watch more scary videos. Please share with family and friends. The Last Table. I'm a 29-year-old waitress working at a 24-hour diner just outside a small town in Oregon. Middle of nowhere. Quiet, peaceful until it wasn't. Most nights after midnight were dead. Just me, some old rock music on low volume, and the occasional trucker needing coffee. But this night was different. The cook had called out sick, so it was just me. Manager trusted me to hold things down. I'd done it before. I wasn't nervous until 2:30 in the morning. That's when it happened. I was wiping down the counter, humming to myself when I looked up. And shit, in the back booth, far corner by the window, there was a man sitting there. I froze because I didn't hear the door open. No chime, no footsteps, nothing. He wasn't there a second ago, and suddenly he was. He was wearing this long brown coat, looked like it hadn't been cleaned in years, and a dark hat pulled down low over his face. He wasn't doing anything, just sitting, staring out the window, completely still. I waited a couple of seconds before going over. Maybe I just missed him coming in. Maybe I was too deep in my head. I grabbed my notepad and walked over. "Hey there," I said. "Can I get you anything?" Nothing. He didn't even flinch. Just turned his head, very slowly, and looked at me. His eyes, they were so sunken, like he hadn't slept in days, or eaten. Dark circles, pale skin, lips cracked and dry, but the way he looked at me, not like a normal customer, not even like a person. It was like he was staring through me. I repeated myself. Still nothing. He didn't blink, didn't move. It was like he was waiting for something. I took a step back. My chest felt tight. Something about him was scary different. I turned and walked back to the counter, pretending to clean again, giving him his space. But my eyes were on that booth the whole time. I looked down to push the napkin holder to the center of the counter, then looked back at that booth. What the hell? And he was gone. No door chime, no footsteps, no sound at all. I rushed to the windows, looked out at the lot. Empty, not a single freaking car. I checked the bathroom, even the kitchen. Nothing. It was like he vanished. But here's where it got worse. This is the part that still messes me up. We had an old security system, basic black and white feed. I went into the back office and pulled it up, rewound to just a few minutes earlier, and I watched myself. I saw myself stop cleaning. I saw myself walk to the booth. I watched myself stand there talking to no one. The booth was empty. There was no man, not on the camera, just me, talking to an empty booth. I sat there staring at the screen, heart pounding. My hands were shaking. I knew what I saw. I talked to him. I looked into his eyes. But the camera says he wasn't there. I didn't tell my manager. I didn't tell anyone. I finished out the shift, but I didn't go near that booth again that night. I tried to hang in there, but 2 days later, I quit. I had a friend pick up my last paycheck. I drive past that diner sometimes. It's still open. Same booths, same lights, and every time I glance at that back corner, it feels like someone's watching, waiting. I don't know what I saw or didn't see or why the camera didn't catch him, but ever since that night, every time I'm out late, every time I catch a glimpse of someone out of the corner of my eye, I wonder if I'm really seeing them, or if they're only real to me. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for spine-chilling horror content and to watch more scary videos. please share with family and friends.